Hi, fellow Django developers. Ezekiel here from alwaysdjango.com, where we discuss interesting Django topics that helps you grow, improve as a Django developer. If that sounds interesting, like, share, subscribe, share this video with anyone you think will find this video interesting. Let's get into it. So today we are going to discuss Django Context Processors, right? Django Context Processors, right? So what are Django Context Processors? Like always, we have an article here on alwaysdjango.com. I'll leave a link to it in the description so that I can go read it up, reference it. We are just going to reference this article here, right? So what are Django Context Processors? Most of us have come across the Django request.user template variable. One thing notable is that it is available to all your Django application templates. Context processors in Django are used to make variables available to all Django project templates. Our Django application context processors are found in the settings.py file and the templates option list. Django context processors are simple Python functions that accept the WSGI request argument and returns a dictionary. So context processor, like in Django, we know about the request.user that you can access from the template using the user template variable. The one notable thing about this variable is that it is available in all our templates in Django, right? In any template you go to, without passing this value, is available to you in your template file. So the context processors are simply functions that accept the WSGI request. WSGI should be the web server gateway interface request argument and returns a dictionary. Now the dictionary returned from this function, the key for that dictionary will be the key will be used to access that value from our template, right? We'll get into it so that you understand more. So why do we need context processors in Django? Reduces repetitiveness and improve code marginalization. Context processors make you do things the Django way, right? It decreases repetitiveness, like having to go to this view, go to your view, passing this value to this template, passing this value to another template, passing this value to another template. You get, so when you need to pass in a particular value to different templates, is probably advisable to use the context processors in Django, right? So how to create custom context processors in Django. We already have an article, a project here, a very simple project. We just on the root file, we render this index.html file, which is expecting an application name template variable. This is our view here, returning this index.html file and everything. Just a simple Django application we'll be using for demonstration. So our context processors can be found in your settings.py file, which is this settings.py file, in the templates list under these options. In the options here, you can see we have these context processors. So right here we have all the context processors that are available to a Django application, a default Django application. Here we have the debug, the request, the auth, the messages, right? Another very commonly used context processor variable is the message variable, right? So how can we make these context processors for our application? Let's say, for instance, in this project now, in this article also, we made a context processor that passes in the application name. Maybe you have an application name, you don't want to be passing the application name to every template for your project, right? So the application name, you want to have a context processor that passes in the application name to all your template files, right? So that's what we are going to have here. So steps to creating how to create custom context processor in Django. To create custom Django context processors, we follow these 3 simple steps. And in this tutorial, we are simply going to create a context processor that passes down the application name to the templates, just like we said, a context processor that passes down the application name to our templates file. So steps we have: first, create the context processor file; second, implement your functionality; third, add the context processor to the settings.py file; fourth, use the context processor. So the first step now, we say create the context processor file. Simply we go to our root folder, we'll create a new application, we'll create a new file, Python file here. We say application, let's say application name context processor.py. Shouldn't be as long as this, but anything. So we have this file now. In this file, here is where we write our functionality for our context processor. So secondly, say we implement our functionality. As mentioned above, Django context processors are simply Python functions that accept the WSGI request argument and returns a dictionary. So our context processor is simply a function that takes in the request argument, the WSGI, the request argument that every view function in Django also receives, that gets the request argument, then returns a dictionary. That's, we have a function here. We can name it anything. Let's say application name, right? Then accept the request argument, then returns a dictionary, right? So this is a context processor. Now this is a valid context processor function, a Django context processor function, right? So we obviously have to return something in this dictionary. So here we say maybe application name. Let's say this is the application name, very original. So this is the application name. So this is our context file, this is our context function. The third step should be adding it to the settings.py file. Then add the context processor to the settings.py file. How do you add it to the settings.py file? Like I said before, the contexts are found in your settings.py file under templates variable, under templates list, in this option argument here, and the context processors right here. This is where you have your context processor. This is where you add your context processor, right? So we enter a string with the import directory, absolute import directly to our context processor file. What I'm trying to say is, here we go here from the root application root folder. We go here, we have this. Let's copy the name. We enter it here. We say dot. We now enter the file. We copy the name of the file with name of the function. The name of the function. We enter it here. So now we have entered this function here as a context processor for our application, right? So this is a valid an in-use context processor for this application here. So let's go to our template file and see if, so like we mentioned before, a context processor function accepts the request argument, returns a dictionary. Now the key, this is the key of this dictionary. This is a key in this dictionary. This is a value in this dictionary. Now the keys in this dictionary will be used to reference these values, right? So the name of the key of this value, the key of this, one of the keys in this dictionary now is the application name. So because we have returned this dictionary here, the application name will be a context variable name for this value. So we copy this in our template file. We'll copy this, we'll come here, we already have it. So what we're expecting is that Django, our server starts, goes through our settings.py file, comes to the context processors, recognizes this as a context processor, goes into this file here, goes into this function, accepts this dictionary as a context, right? So it comes to this index.html file and accesses this context file. So let's reload. This is it. This is the application name. right? So let's change it to maybe something else, anything. So let's reload. This is it, right? So this is how you use context processors in Django. Of course, you can have other things. Maybe you can even have another dictionary here. Maybe dict, let's say dictionary, let's say name is always django.com. So in this context processor now, we have a key whose name is dict, that's dictionary, or dict. Then in this dict is a dictionary. Inside this dictionary we have the name key. So we go to our index.html, our template file, we access this dict context variable, we accept this context variable, then it's also a dictionary, we accept this name, so dot name. So what we're expecting to see is always django.com. So let's reload. Always django.com. Let's change it to something else. Let's reload. This is it, guys. So this is how you use context variables in context processors in Django. The first step, what you first have to do is obviously create the file that will house the processor file that will house your context processor function. Implement your functionality. The functionality is obviously a function that accepts the request argument, returns a dictionary. Add the context processor to your settings.py file. Then fourthly and lastly, use your context processor variable in your your template files. So this is it for today, guys. This is how you this is how you use Django context processors. Like, share, subscribe, turn up the notification for upcoming videos. This is it with me, guys. Have a nice day. Peace.